Welcome to the first episode of Physicality of Piano Playing, brought to you by professional musician, pianist, and piano professor Yuliya Borshchova and Oclef Piano School. In this podcast, we talk about the physical aspect of music making and helping musicians, particularly pianists, to build healthy habits, understand and implement kinesthetic learning, develop piano techniques, and prevent music playing related injuries. Today, Dr. David Mendoza joined us, where he shares the importance of body posture while playing the violin, and he talks about the different body rhythms that help dancers express the music through body movements. Dr. Mendoza is a composer and performer. He plays violin, viola, cello, piano, and ethnic string instruments that he implements in his original music. He also holds the Doctor of Musical Arts in Music Theory and Composition. He is currently teaching at Frost School of Music and New World School of the Arts in Miami, Florida. Hi, David. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for finding time and being on this podcast and this episode. So, welcome, Dr. David. And so, today we're going to be talking about physicality of piano playing and kinesthetic learning. And I just wanted to kind of like start with my story so you can understand better where I'm coming from and why is it this subject is very important to me. I personally started to play piano with when I was just 6 years old, and I've been playing piano like every day, practicing for 1 hour a day. So it's been very intense. And through my formal music education, I've been just told how to hold my hands, how to move my body, or like I've been doing and playing how I was taught and told by my professors and teachers. So later on, I found myself with the pain in my shoulders and not able to practice piano for more than 30 minutes. So it's just like my muscle tension was so extreme that I was experiencing some kind of like piano playing injuries, and I had to stop performing completely, and I was switched to full time of teaching. Later on, when I was taking tennis lessons, my tennis coach was showing me how to move my body to develop like certain tennis strokes, how is my forearm is connected to upper arm, and how my wrist supposed to move, and why is it important, and what it provides for the different strokes. And I was like, wow, I wish I would know this information and awareness when I was learning how to play piano from very beginning, because I found that I have a lot of tension in my right arm, and I discovered it through the like doing sport. It's like completely not related like to music activity. So that's why I started to teach my students how to be more aware of body movement. Going back to you, I wanted to ask you, how are you using this body awareness and physicality in your performing personally, and how do you teach that aspects of kinesthetic learning to your students?
Well, like you, I started at a similar age at piano at 7. It only lasted for about 6 months. And then when I was 10 years old, I started violin a little bit after that. It's a very different instrument because you have to hold it on your shoulder. What happens is that students will bring their neck up like this, or they will go like this. And there's a lot of tension there. With the little kids, you have to make sure that their back is straight and that they keep their shoulders down. Their armpit area is very free, so they can move the bow in a very natural manner, that they can do that many repetitions without any holding or gripping. Same thing with the bow. You cannot grip with the bow or else it will be unsustainable. We do similar exercises so that the students are aware of their joints and what's moving what. We start with shoulder, elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, something like that. So they get awareness of the motion. I had similar pain issues with my back. I think it was because I wasn't keeping my back straight. There was also tension on the jaw area. Yeah, with the string player, it's very important.
Because at the piano, you just sit at the bench, You just need to be aware how you're holding your spine, right? But with violin, it's like you holding the music comes from you holding the instrument and moving it. I can
Yes.
imagine how many like back issues could be like developed out of the practicing. It's very important subject that I found many professional musicians struggling, as well as the students. Like, how do you find yourself in that moment? You start feeling the tension, and then you start, oh, okay, I need to straighten my back. Or you, from the very beginning, being very intentional, how you're gonna approach your practice, and what do you have to put in place to prevent that tension and experience physical pain.
Well, like you in your tennis story, you didn't realize it until you kind of took the tennis lessons. I didn't realize it until I started meditating and I realized, wow, I cannot sit straight. Like my back hurts after so many hours of meditation. So then I said, oh, well, I have to start keeping my back straight. If you keep your back straight, you're able to sit for a longer period of time. And so now I'm more aware of how I keep my shoulders. And like you said about intention, I have to intentionally remind myself to keep my shoulders back. It was the same issue with violin playing. I just had to remind myself all the time, keep your shoulders back. And that way you won't have the pain.
It's like, can you imagine if you've been aware of all of that? Like understanding and awareness. I'm sure your teacher told you so many times, keep your back straight, right? Oh, wow, this is simple. I just have to hold my back straight to avoid this. You see, it took for you completely different things to do, like meditating. It's not related to music, too.
There are yoga and meditation are very beneficial, I think, for musicians. And I remember seeing a viola book that I purchased when I was a student, and it had some paragraphs in there about yoga and meditation. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting, how they connected instrument playing to these things. So, yeah, my teacher, she talked about Alexander technique, which is something that I don't know about. And when I went to school at Florida State, our studio always talked about playing in a relaxed manner. But you have to be careful with that because sometimes the student will be like, okay, play relaxed, and they'll just drop everything.
Yes.
So you have to be you have to be active and straight, but in a relaxed way.
Yeah,
Like,
this is very counterintuitive, completely two opposite things to do. Yes, when I teach my students to play with relaxed wrist on the piano, there is no quality of the sound that we're trying to get. It's like being relaxed, but being in control. So I think there is so many different like parts involved in this kinesthetic learning, starting from your mind. Like body awareness comes from the brain, right? From being aware. It's great that you mentioned Alexander technique because I'm getting into that teaching about like body mapping, understanding like your parts of the body and actually getting an anatomy of your body, how your hand built and why is the fourth finger is the weakest finger. So I just like recently learned because it's connected with a joint completely different between the other fingers. So it's like being aware of all of that. I think it's gonna really contribute to the quality of the sound and also preventing the injuries. Is there anything else that you suggest for students of many instruments, how to harness and develop body awareness that's really impacting and making the music playing more efficient?
well, there's body creates different rhythms. If you walk, there's a certain rhythm. If you skip or leap or run, those are just natural rhythms. When our hands naturally fall, they create rhythms. And then you have rhythms of the speech. You have, different these poetic meters like iambic and dactyl. So you have rhythms of the speech, rhythms of the body that you can be aware of. And percussion instruments are something very easy to give students to create something. It doesn't have to be the best music, but they can create something together. And also thinking about phrases. A lot of the dancers that I work with, they don't listen to particular, notes or, maybe even motives. They listen to larger groups. And cadences too, very important because cadences delineate phrases, and that's also very important.